Just for the court's information, we did file just recently, within the last few minutes, a notice of intent to seek the death penalty.
Utah authorities are coming down hard on Charlie Kirk's killer as they seek the death penalty, but his parents are begging the judge to reverse this decision because he turned himself in. But when Charlie Kirk's killer appeared before the judge, things took a chilling turn. The chilling first court appearance. The sterile walls of the Utah County Jail have witnessed many criminals, but on September 16, 2025, they contained someone whose actions would forever alter the landscape of American political discourse. Tyler James Robinson, the 22-year-old accused of assassinating conservative activist Charlie Kirk, made his first court appearance in what legal experts are calling one of the most significant political assassination cases in recent American history. The courtroom atmosphere was electric with tension as media representatives filled the 6 pews of the 4th Judicial District Courthouse in Provo, Utah. But Robinson himself wasn't physically present in that room. Instead, he appeared via video link from his jail cell, standing rigidly against a beige cinder block wall, wearing what appeared to be a black bulletproof vest, a precautionary measure that spoke volumes about the gravity of his alleged crimes.
Calling case 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
What struck observers most profoundly was Robinson's complete emotional detachment. Throughout the entire 12-minute proceeding, he remained completely silent, except for stating his name, displaying no emotional reaction, no tears, smiles, or visible anxiety. His rigid posture and minimal facial expressions created an unsettling image that would be seared into the minds of everyone present. When 4th District Court Judge Tony Graff Jr. asked him to identify himself, Robinson's response was mechanical, almost robotic. Those 3 words would be virtually the only sounds he would make during a hearing that would determine whether he would live or die for his alleged crimes.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Robinson. I'm Judge Graff. Mr. Scortis. So, Mr. Robinson, you have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, the court can appoint an attorney to represent you.
The charges read against Robinson painted a picture of calculated political violence that sent shockwaves through the legal community. Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray formally announced 7 criminal counts against Robinson, each more serious than the last, building a legal case that prosecutors believe warrants the ultimate punishment.
Just for the court's information, we did file just recently, within the last few minutes, a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. That was filed by Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray.
In the sterile walls of the Utah County Jail, a chilling event was unfolding, one that would forever alter the landscape of American politics. On September 16, 2025, the young man who had taken the life of conservative activist Charlie Kirk made his first court appearance. Tyler James Robinson, 22, stood before the court in a video link from his cell, his figure rigid, his face emotionless, as though he were merely a shadow of the tragedy that had transpired. The courtroom was charged with tension, the weight of the moment felt by everyone present. The media, packed in the small wooden pews, waited, cameras poised, eager for every word, every detail. But Robinson, despite the gravity of his actions, remained eerily silent. His appearance, clad in a black bulletproof vest, spoke volumes. Each detail, from his mechanical tone to his stillness, sent a cold shiver down the spine of every observer. As Judge Tony Graff Jr. addressed him, the words that came from Robinson's mouth were few, his name the only syllables he would utter. "Tyler James Robinson," he said, his voice flat, distant, like a man detached from the horror he was about to face. His blank expression told the story, a young man standing at the precipice of death, unmoved by the fate that awaited him. The charges against Robinson were devastating, each count more severe than the last. The courtroom grew even quieter as Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray announced 7 criminal counts, including the most serious charge of aggravated murder in the first degree. This was no ordinary crime. This was a calculated act of political violence, and it demanded the utmost penalty. The atmosphere was thick with the weight of the prosecution's words, the death penalty. As Gray spoke of the notice of intent to seek the ultimate punishment, it was clear that this was not just about one man's life, it was about sending a message in a nation torn by political division. This was a crime that transcended the individual, a message to those who believed in the sanctity of life and the need to protect it. The charges themselves were staggering. Robinson was accused not only of murder but of endangering others, obstructing justice, tampering with evidence, and even witness tampering. As each charge was read aloud, the true depth of his alleged actions came into focus, actions that spoke to a calculated, cold nature, a determination to cover up his crime at all costs. But perhaps the most haunting of all was the charge of committing violent offenses in the presence of a child, a stark reminder of how political violence can ripple out and scar innocent lives. A child who would forever remember the day they witnessed a life taken in cold blood. As Robinson remained silent, his face betraying no emotion, his silence became the loudest thing in the room. The judge, in a sober moment, issued a protective order for Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, knowing that even beyond the courtroom the threat still lingered. Robinson's detachment was more than chilling, it was a sign of the cold, methodical nature of the crime he was accused of. And as Robinson awaited his fate, the legal process carried on, with the state of Utah determined to seek justice. But just as unsettling as the first court appearance were the events that led to his capture. Over 500 law enforcement officers had scoured the state in a fevered manhunt, fueled by surveillance footage and the public's tips. Yet, in a twist of fate, it was a father's recognition, his father, a retired sheriff's deputy, that ultimately brought the fugitive in. Tyler Robinson's father, Mark, watching the news that fateful evening, saw his son's face in the suspect photos. The gut-wrenching realization hit him like a thunderclap, and what followed was an agonizing decision, one that no parent should have to make. The man who had taught his son to shoot as part of their family tradition, now found himself turning his own child in to the authorities. The moment was surreal as Mark Robinson and his son's pastor went to the sheriff's office, leading Tyler in for his surrender. In those 33 hours following the assassination, Robinson's fate was sealed not just by federal agents, but by the bond of family, a heartbreaking irony. It was not the overwhelming force of the FBI that ended the manhunt but the moral conviction of a father who, despite everything, still cared for his son. Once in custody, the digital trail left behind by Robinson became damning evidence. Text messages between Robinson and his roommate, Lance Twiggs, revealed the cold confession, the planning, and even the cover-up. The casual tone of his texts, a chilling contrast to the crime, spoke to a generation that expressed its deepest thoughts through digital messages. One of the most disturbing texts read, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it." A simple statement, yet it would become central to the prosecution's case. Robinson's ideological motives for the attack were clear, and his actions were calculated, down to the destruction of evidence and the instruction to silence any witnesses. Yet, beyond the legal proceedings and the gruesome details of the crime, one question lingered in the minds of everyone following the case. How did a young man, once a model student from a stable, loving family, turn into an assassin? The answer lies in the complex transformation that Robinson underwent, influenced by online extremism, ideological shifts, and a troubled personal life. What started as a young man's search for belonging in a small, conservative town evolved into a journey down a dark path of radicalization. His political views, once moderate, morphed into hatred and violence. And in the end, that hatred led him to take the life of one of America's most polarizing political figures. As Robinson awaits trial, the story of his rise and fall serves as a chilling reminder of the dangerous potential of ideological radicalization. In an age where online spaces cultivate extremism, his case is a stark warning of the consequences that can arise when hate goes unchecked.